we have these gruesome images from South Sudan, as we've just seen, carefully edited, believe me, to not shock those of you of a sensitive nature. We have some horrific images. This is just the tip of a very gruesome iceberg. The UN's top humanitarian official in South Sudan says he saw piles and piles of bodies after rebels belonging to one ethnic group slaughtered members of another in a remote town. The army says it's battling rebel forces in 3 states. The UN says rebels seized the town of Bentiu last week, unleashing 2 days of ethnic slaughter. Civilians sheltering in mosques, churches and a hospital were hunted down and killed. And the UN has become a base of refuge for thousands of civilians fleeing in fear. Bentiu, then, the main town in Unity State, where the fighting has been most fierce. Unity is central to South Sudan's oil resources. South Sudan, of course, became independent of Sudan in 2011. The civil conflict that almost simultaneously ensued has 2 figureheads. They are the President, Salva Kiir, and his one-time political deputy, Riek Machar. Well, for the analysis, we're joined by Casey Copeland of the International Crisis Group. Casey's their South Sudan expert. She joins us on the line from South Africa. Here in the studio, we have another gentleman from Sudan itself, Altam Haju, Vice President of the Sudanese Revolutionary Front. Altam, I'll start with you here in the studio. Those images certainly distressed me. What was your reaction when you saw those pictures coming from South Sudan?
It is a shame and it is very sad because, you know, the people of Sudan has been living in this trail of death for the last 60 years, and especially our brother and sister in South Sudan. And it is very sad after this. We almost believe this problem has been solved to come again in this destruction in a very gruesome picture. I cannot believe it. That's what I can say. It is unbelievable.
Unbelievable, and we're seeing the pictures, and clearly it is shocking to everybody who puts their eyes on them. Let's bring in Casey Copeland now, who's joining us down the line from South Africa. Casey, of course, the South Sudan expert of the International Crisis Group. Crisis doesn't begin to explain what's going on there, does it really, Casey?
No, and the images you're seeing from Bentiu are just one in a series of massacres and atrocities against civilians in this conflict that's beginning in the capital the 15th December.
Clearly, we're having issues trying to get through to you, Casey, because I couldn't understand what you were saying then. We will, while we try to fix that line, we will just hear now from Toby Lanza. Toby, of course, represents the UN in South Sudan. He spoke a few hours ago.
Bentiu was the scene of severe violence, very targeted, deliberate violence that struck individuals of certain identities. And I think that what I've so far seen in the mosque and in other parts of town has really been very, very heart-wrenching. Certainly atrocities have been committed here on a very significant scale.
Let's bring in our guest in the studio from the Sudanese Revolutionary Front, Altam Haju. Tell us how shocked you are by what has gone on in South Sudan and what continues to go on in South Sudan.
I think there is no word you can explain what you can feel, because as I told you, people of Sudan suffered for a long time, almost 60 years, especially the people of South Sudan. And to come to this this situation and to this brother and sister killing each other, and all civilian, in fact, just being targeted in crossfire. I think this is sad, it is bad, it is unbelievable, and it is madness. And we, in fact, urge our brother and sister in the South Sudan to stop this madness.
These things tend to be about power and control, and in the middle of that, there tends to be resources, and of course, in South Sudan, it is oil. Is it just about oil?
No, I think it is more than that. And I am afraid, I think the government of Khartoum is playing a role because as you know and everybody knows, it is a new country and almost trying to find its footing in developing it. It is organization and it is policy and to find the direction for the country. But
Altam,
from the beginning,
I have to put it to you because you are an opponent of President Bashir
Definitely.
in Sudan. Clearly, you're looking to move him out and for your people to take over. I put it to you that you would say that he's behind it. Do you have any hard proof?
Yeah, definitely. In fact, we don't want just to put him out. In fact, we want to take him out of our chest, out of the chest of the people of Sudan South and North.
Okay.
Because we reached, in fact, agreement with our brother and sister in 1988, and the whole purpose of this coup to stop the peace deal between Al-Margani and Garang, and the whole trail of this will never been happen if that happened. Our evidence, just before 1 week, the government of Sudan, the government army bombarded the same city. And even the spokesman of the military of South Sudan declared that everybody knows that. This is a coordinated effort. And even with this rebel troop which captured Bantu, there is element of North Sudan. There is a horse mounting forces. There is nobody in the south use the horses. So it is quite clear. And I'm afraid the international community just try to give a blind eye to what is going on. The government of Khartoum, the whole insight for this violence, they start the wedge between the leader of the South Sudan, and now they are playing in the post part.
Alton, let me stop you there for a second. Let's try and communicate again with Casey Copeland from the International Crisis Group on the line from South Africa. Casey, I hope we've got you on a clearer line now. We're hearing from Altam Hajju from the Sudanese Revolutionary Front here in the studio about a multi-layered crisis. Would you agree with some of what you're hearing?
Well, certainly what we're looking at is multi-layered. On the side of the opposition, we're certainly seeing some involvement and support from elements associated with the government of Sudan. On the government of South Sudan side, we're also seeing the involvement of the Sudan Defense Force, as well as forces associated with the Sudan Revolutionary Front operating in government-controlled areas. So at this point, what we're seeing is an ever-increasing regional involvement, and this is something we should all be deeply concerned about.
And the ethnic element, Casey, the ethnic element of what's going on, I mean, would you call it ethnic cleansing?
Ethnic cleansing is quite an interesting term, legally speaking. But what I think we are seeing are certainly war crimes and crimes against humanity.
A distressing scenario. Casey, we'll try and improve the phone line to you again because it's very clear you have interesting things to say about this situation, but I don't think we're quite doing you justice in terms of what we can hear. Casey Copeland, thank you very much for trying to speak to us, and we apologise for our technical issues there to you, the viewer. Let's turn now to our man in the studio, Altam Hajju of the Sudanese Revolutionary Front. This is a situation, sir, which clearly is not going to get better quickly, and it looks, I'm sad to say, like more people are going to die.
Definitely.
You agree with that?
Definitely.
So from your perspective, you must feel very powerless as in terms of what you can do.
Yeah. In fact, we think the source of the problem is coming from Khartoum, because the destruction, not even in South Sudan, the whole area. You find the fingerprint of Khartoum in Central Africa, you'll find it in Egypt, you'll find it in Libya. So I think to stop this killing, this madness, this playing politics of dirty game, you have to tackle the problem of Khartoum. Because the problem in Darfur coming from Khartoum, Bashir, yeah. Bashir government is the source of the problem in Darfur. The source of the problem in the Toy area is the source of the problem which led to separation of South Sudan, the igniting of hatred between these two tribes. We are Sudanese and we know what this government is doing from the beginning, in fact. And there is no way South Sudan and North Sudan live in peace. There is no way the whole region live in peace while this government in power and playing the same tactics.
In terms of what's happening in South Sudan, you're saying that neither Salva Kiir nor Riek Machar, neither of their groups stands to gain anything from this. It's purely about what Khartoum will gain.
Definitely. You know, this is a symptom. What's going on? This is a symptom. But the source of the disease, the policy of divide and rule, the policy of ethnic hatred, the policy of religious hatred, the source is there.
Altam Haju, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you, sir. And our thanks to Casey Copeland from the International Crisis Group too, who joined us. Sadly, unsuccessfully from South Africa due to technical difficulties, but thank you very much, Casey, for your willingness to join us here on France 24. We take a very short break. After that, we return with more world news, of course, as well as the sport and the business. You're watching Live in Paris on France 24.